Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
Lucifer, Lucifer, Barabas, Barabas, by Santanica, Santanica, come, etc., and so forth.
This is episode 240, recorded April 23rd, 2025.
Gruesome Magazine.
That was my Christopher Lee, by the way, which sounds a lot like Gregory Crosby.
Wow.
So I'm just saying.
I was going to say...
Wait, are you saying, Chad, are you saying that I sound a lot like Christopher Lee? Because that might redeem your impression of me, if that's what you're saying.
I think so, yes.
You know, you never see them in the same room together.
No, you
Plus,
don't.
plus, I'm much shorter than Christopher Lee.
That may have sounded like gibberish, but it was.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-hosts Chad Hunt, Bill Mulligan, Gregory Crosby, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. Boy, was this an influential film. With me this week is my co-host, Chad Hunt, comic book artist, co-host of Decades of Horror, the all of them. How you doing, Chad?
Well, I have sort of a pain in my lower Barabas, but other than that, I'm fine.
And you're still Chad and Nico.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
You might take an Alka-Seltzer for that.
I'm glad you're here despite your lower Barabas.
You ever have lower Barabas pain? It's nothing to sneeze at.
Also with us is Gregory Crosby, a poet, and he knows it. How you doing, Gregory?
We'll get to that.
We will.
He's fine.
And last but not least, as always, Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, published author of ROM.
Space Night.
All around nice guy.
ROM Space Night. Yeah. That pain in your lower back is from me stabbing a voodoo doll for picking this movie.
Okay.
Can you show us on the Barabas where Chad touched you?
Where this movie hurt me, my entire soul.
All right. So, is this going to be fun? But first, Play Now Media. We partner with Play Now Media, which is a company with multiple niche streaming channels, like a couple dozen of them. And in fact, Decades of Horror, the 1970s is on the Wicked Horror TV channel. And we have a promo code for that. DOH70, DOH, all caps, 70. And if you sign up for this, for that channel, and you're a first-time subscriber, and you do it on their website, you got to do it on their website, you'll get 20% off your first payment. Now, the monthly fee is $6.99, so you would get about $1.40 off your first month. But the annual fee is $50, so you would get 20% off of that, which is $10. It'd only be $40 for a year, which seems like a heck of a deal. They have a lot of pretty good movies there, and some old, hard-to-find ones, and it's not surprising to me at all that this one is not there. But at any rate, you guys check it out. And you don't have to pay. It's kind of like Tubi. You could just go there and watch stuff and have ads, or you can subscribe with a username and a password, and then it will remember you and you can make a favorites list, but you'll still have ads and you'll miss some of the feature stuff. All right. So on this podcast, we start out by giving a few details about the film, and we'll do some first impressions, jump into taglines, and then move on down the road, talk about whatever we want to talk about. So our film this episode is...
Oh, geez.
Of all the pictures to go with.
Wow.
I have one more. Corpse Eaters. Released in 1974, directed by Donald R. Passmore for a couple of days, and then Klaus Vetter, written by Lawrence Zazelenchuk Zazelenchuk and Alan Nicholson. The cast includes Michael Hopkins, Ed LeBrayton, Terry London, Michael Krizak, Helena Carson, Douglas Deering, Gary Stevens, Bill Sharon, Louise Parr, Bill Costello, and Kathy Hickey. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, we have no idea who any of those people are or what parts they play, because
Oh, they're from Sudbury, eh?
I do believe you're right, but we managed to find a movie that every single person in the cast never made another movie that's credited on IMDb.
And I don't blame them.
The production company is Maniac Productions. Filming location, Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. Release date, August 16th, 1974 in Canada. And the budget, 36,000 Canadian dollars. And I don't know, the synopsis that they had on IMDb was a story of zombies eating freshly killed humans.
You know, I noticed that looking around. I don't think anybody knows what in the hell this movie is all about, because you get this vague. It's a story about zombies eating killed freshly.
So I added
humans.
this part. Two couples decide on a whim to spend the night in a graveyard where they perform a séance. No, not really a séance, a ritual, I think, and raise the dead, who begin eating freshly killed humans. And I actually think they're not so freshly killed, and some of them are still alive.
And to think they could have gone to a rock concert.
And this is our voyeur owl.
So to explain, if anyone's looking at this and like me, when this thing popped up, I was like, what am I looking at? I wasn't sure. That's an owl who is just staring at these unattractive people having sex, sort of, kind of, and saying, who picked this crap movie to inflict upon us?
Yeah, that owl is the most visually striking thing in the entire film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I also had this version. Which
I like that a lot better.
Jeff,
I hate to give away the ending. And
why are you showing pictures of former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson?
Yeah,
no, I don't understand what this has to do with a Canadian film.
Hey, and I'll tell you what,
Chinese meal.
This picture has been improved by AI. You should have seen it before that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was going to do that. with the graphics. Then I realized what a waste of time.
Yes.
In the last version, he only had one shadow.
All right. Can we please get to first impressions?
All right. Well, first impressions. This is Chad's pick.
You bastard.
Whoops. We want to keep our distance, Chad.
Bye, Jeff. So Jeff just leaves.
Chad, why did you pick this movie, and what were your first impressions?
I picked this movie because it was 54 minutes long. I will be upfront and honest about it. And
Thank God.
I've never seen it before. I've never heard of it. And as of this time right now, I still don't think I've ever seen it, because this is the most flabbergasting 54 minutes I have ever encountered in my whole movie-going watching career. And I really, it looks like a bunch of meth heads went and said, hey man, instead of buying drugs this weekend, let's buy camera equipment and make a movie. That's what I got from it.
Okay. That are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
That's fair to say.
Thank you, Chad.
54 minutes.
Now, suck it up for the rest of this. Let's hear from Greg.
I ain't afraid of you.
You should be.
Gentlemen, when I first received the call to fill in for Doc Rotten on Decades of Horror, the 1970s, I felt both a swelling of pride and great privilege at being able to be a part of the illustrious Grue Crew as they explored the finest, goriest, most deliriously demented decade in horror movie history. And then I watched The Corpse Eaters.
He's done.
Thank you.
No, I'm not done.
That's one pregnant pause right there.
This is quite possibly the worst movie ever made. The only way that you could redeem this film is if you cut it into 4 separate sections. You found an art gallery in Chelsea that specializes in avant-garde video art. You placed 4 monitors, 4 screens on each 4 walls, each facing each other, and played on a loop without sound those 4 sections of this film and put up a wall text that said, "The Death of Canadian Cinema." That is potentially the only way you should possibly experience The Corpse Eaters. That said, there is some absolutely unbelievably hilarious stuff in this film, which we will get to after we hear what Bill has to say.
All right. Thank you, sir. William.
I honestly think, see, here's where I want to be careful. When I say I think this is the worst movie I've ever watched from beginning to end, there may be worse movies out there, but I didn't have any reason to keep on watching them once I realized how completely worthless they were. So I stopped. But I take this job seriously. And so I stuck it out to the end. That 50 minutes felt like a 2-hour marathon. But I don't want to give the impression to people that this is entertainingly bad. It's just bad. Lots of movies are bad, but they're fun to watch. This is not one of them. This is not Ed Wood. It's incompetent, but not in a fun way. And it's so, you know how like the ending of Dracula versus Frankenstein, you got the 2 monsters fighting and you're like, this would kind of be cool if I could see it. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that, except you're not thinking this would be cool if I could see it. It's just, this is bad and I can't see it and it's annoying and I hate my life. And why did this thing exist?
But I did laugh at least 3 times, which we'll get to.
Really? Yeah.
But were they supposed to be funny?
I laughed out loud.
I can't believe anything was supposed to be funny. It's got possibly the most unerotic sex scene ever filmed. And I know that's a bold statement because a lot of people somehow make movies without ever having, have sex explained to them in a way that they can make work. But oof, everything about this is sad and just not good. Yeah, where'd they go wrong? Now, okay, let's be fair. Apparently, this is an incomplete film. It's partially lost. It's not lost enough, but it's partially lost. But there is no way that they are going to discover, oh, here's the missing 15 minutes of The Corpse Eaters, that it all makes sense now. No, there's nothing about this. The fact that this was lost and then found, we're still looking for London After Midnight, but we managed to get The Corpse Eaters out there. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Thanks,
Don't
Tubi.
waste your time. Take my advice. Randomly just watch anything else but The Corpse Eaters. And now people are like, well, I gotta check it out now. Well, you were warned. Yep. You were warned. Don't you write any letters to us complaining that we put this on your radar, because it's coming with a big honking warning to stay away.
I'm going to tell you about all 3 funny parts, and then you don't have to actually watch it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
He'll tell you all the good stuff. I'm waiting to hear that myself.
All right. Thank you, Bill. So we are introduced. A part of this movie takes place in the Happy Halo funeral home.
Great name, at least.
Yeah, that's a
Happy Halo. I enjoy that.
This is as Chad said, it's like a 55 minute movie. Mm-hmm. 17 minutes in, and all we've seen is a guy standing over a corpse, a funeral director driving around in a hearse going nowhere.
Yeah, no reason, just driving around.
4 people taking a boat ride, and then one couple has sex while one couple doesn't have sex. Alternating cuts of an owl, and then they end up playing in the water. That's 17 minutes in the movie. That's all.
Nothing has happened.
This is like filler is us. It's filler. We watch the mortician or the technician who's preparing the bodies. We watch him pour an entire bottle into a canister. The entire bottle,
Yeah.
not just a part of it. And while he's doing that, we cut back and forth to the funeral director who's driving nowhere. And finally, at some point, goes, well, I guess I better get back. I don't know why. And then, like, he comes back to check on the body, and it doesn't look quite right. So he starts squeezing the face. And when you get a close up of the face, you see there's a scar on his face, and you see part of the makeup peeling off.
Yeah. Where he's squeezing the cheeks.
Yeah. And then I think there was one scene where the guy is like shoving the trocar in the body, although you don't actually get to see it. You just see him, just the top half of him. Bill, I think his name was. And we move in for kind of a close-up, and we stay there until we can finally get that drip of sweat to fall off his nose.
Don't forget the completely random extreme close-up of the Undertaker's eyes.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason, as he's just talking to his employee. It's just there. It's not just a close-up. It's just on his eyes.
There's a lot of weird, unexplained.
There's so much weird stuff here. I don't know, and I have no idea what happened. I don't know if it's a dream, if it's flashbacks, or is it delusions of a crazed mind? It's just bizarre. Now, I had a couple of flashbacks to my life around that period. One was the Evinrude outboard boat motor. And just so y'all know, this is an important thing to know. Outboard Marine Corporation made Evinrude's and Johnson motors. They came off the same line. All they did was spray the lower unit a different color and put a different hood on it.
Oh my God, Jeff, you are so Midwest coded right now.
Yeah.
I can't even.
And people would swear by Johnson Motors versus Evinrude Motors. Okay, I'm done with that.
All right,
I just
fair enough.
Oh, and then the Charger. The Charger, I had a 73 Charger just like that. Only mine was red with a black top. It was a cool car, I'm telling you.
You can never go wrong with that model.
Anyway,
This is going to be one of those episodes where we talk about anything other than the movie.
Yes, it is. But I do want
tell you
Bill,
those three funny things.
at some point, I want Bill to talk about those three funny things. I want Bill to talk about the lightning effects during this. What the hell were those?
I don't know.
Was that you used to talk about scratching the emulsion?
Yeah, you'd scratch the emulsion on your Super 8 film, and because you couldn't afford laser effects and everything, and then there was no such thing as After Effects, and it was fine when you're 11 years old.
They did not scratch the emulsion enough. They should have scratched.
Oh, they should have kept right on going.
Right on
Still
going.
see the film.
Oh God!
They had a lot to scratch because I've seldom seen such a grainy, ugly, dingy, do you know how to use a focus knob film in my life? And I know this is a bad copy, but there could not be a good copy.
No.
There can't be anything. Can I just say one thing about this film? I'll give it one small bit of credit. I thought it was a ripoff of Night of the Living Dead. It's not. It's a ripoff of Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Yes.
And so I'll give it small credit for not ripping off the obvious thing to rip off. But there is no Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things is the 10 Commandments and Citizen Kane compared to this, Drek.
Although it's not a ripoff of Night of the Living Dead, except in the sense, the vibe I got off of it, that the actual filmmakers involved in this got their start making industrial films and PSAs. And I had this sense of like, hey, George Romero got his start in industrial films, and he made a zombie movie that is a modern classic. We could do that. No.
And someone should have whispered, George Romero had a lot of talent.
Yes, sir.
Now,
I've seen George Romero. I've watched George Romero movies. You, sirs, are not the Canadian George Romeros.
Very good.
I did differ somewhat with Gregory when he called it one of the worst movies ever made, that he needs to watch Raiders of the Lost Shark. That's the one I hold up, and I actually reviewed that.
Raiders of the Lost Shark.
2015 movie that's just terrible.
Let's put it to the test. Jeff, you ever have any intention of getting the Blu-ray of the Corpse Eaters?
No.
Yeah.
Nor Raiders of the Lost Shark.
Yep, there you
Raiders of the
go.
Lost Shark. I know I'm going off track again, Chad.
That's okay.
But
Otherwise,
it's
we'll
got
talk about
flying
this.
sharks
Oh,
that look
see?
very much like cutouts that somebody dragged across the picture.
So a little Terry Gilliam effect.
And very weird references to like Quint and people from Jaws. Only they're on like a lake. It's not even in the ocean. All right, I'm done with Raiders. But you can watch that on Tubi, just like you can watch Corpse Eaters on Tubi.
Oh,
all right. Can we move on to Chad's favorite part of the?
We can.
Oh, absolutely. This had taglines.
It did.
Possible.
It's now time for taglines with Chad, as played by Chad, his own self.
Taglines for Corpse Eaters. Rotting ghouls return to life in an orgy of cannibalism.
Well, accurate.
That's not bad. It's the best written part of the movie right there.
Right.
It's a little long in the tooth.
Wow.
Drenched in blood color.
Okay.
We've had something like that before.
Well, extremely muddy, rainy blood color.
The dead come back. They have an unnatural hunger. Human bodies. Tell them what they've won, Jack.
Turtle wax.
A year's worth.
The home version of the game.
Yeah. You will be warned of scenes that could initiate intense shock during this film. Well, not as long as we had Mr. Hacky Man before each shocking scene.
Okay. Can we get out of tagline so I can talk about the first extremely funny thing about this?
Okay. All right. And that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
But the movie can.
Yep.
So, if you were of a mind to riffing on my sort of like turn this into an avant-garde video project, if you were of a mind to extract anything from this film for any artistic purposes whatsoever, you would have to take the most hilarious warning prologue in the history of warning prologue of horror movies for two reasons. One, it is spoken in the most classic Canadian accent. Straight Bob and Doug McKenzie, coo, 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 straight out of the Great White North, telling you that whenever there's a scene that might be too much for you, you will see this middle-aged man suddenly almost vomit into his handkerchief.
Yep.
Under a green filter. Now
there he is.
There he is, right there in the middle.
If you cut this off and put this on top of something else, comedy gold. But the best part of this is I think they use it exactly twice in the movie.
That was it. 2 times.
That was it. Even when there were scenes that were like, oh, this is pretty gory. Oh, where's the guy about to throw up in his handkerchief? Nothing. It was
like
false.
They forgot about their own gimmick.
There's somewhere in some Canadian drive-in in 1974, somebody is throwing up still because they did not get the proper warning.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first thing that I found completely hilarious about.
Well, and before you move on, I found the phrasing very funny. The motion picture you're about to see contains certain very stomach upsetting scenes. I don't know what that's just like.
It's awful specific.
I don't know.
You got to say it in the Canadian accent, though. It'll be
there wasn't a boot in there somewhere too.
The Canadian accents in this movie are glorious. I have to say, true Canuck accents in here.
Yeah, it was hilarious. They had that. Then they had this one of those weird pulsing discs, spiraling around and made a oscilloscope noise. Woo, 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 that flashed to the guy. Anyway, okay.
If I did video editing and did video mixing for like a club or something, I would have put that whole
Yeah.
the green filter guy in about a zillion different sort of video mixes. It's just too perfect.
Just stick him in there like Pazuzu showing up in The Exorcist, just a subliminal flash.
Yeah, exactly. And then after a while, somebody would say, "What the hell is that from?" And I'd be like, "You don't want to know."
I got to throw up. Do you feel sick? I feel sick for some reason.
All right. First hilarious thing.
Okay. Second hilarious thing.
You thought Coffin Joe was the most callous and evil Undertaker in horror movie history? Oh no. No. Yeah. You haven't lived until you've met the guy who refers to his clients as just a bunch of dead meat.
Yeah. Bury some dead piece of meat.
Bit of a jerk. Yeah.
He's beyond a jerk. He's like, I couldn't even imagine. And this is particularly interesting to me because our previous episode was about Phantasm, which has the greatest scary Undertaker in horror movie history.
Yeah.
This movie might possibly have. This guy is like, it's like if Angus Scrimm was the victim of his own machinations and he was scrunched up into a middle-aged 70s long haircut, balding Canadian, and just given the worst possible dialogue to read in a way that no Undertaker would ever say ever about anyone at any point. It's just that I find that character to be completely hilarious.
Dollar store Angus Scrimm, yeah.
Yes, he says to the grieving family, if you'd like, you can congregate in slumber room 6. What the hell is that?
Written by AI, but it's too old.
Oh,
I mean the monologue he's doing while he's just randomly driving a hearse around the cemetery is just like, wow, you should have gone into a different profession, my friend.
Yes.
You were not cut out. You were not cut out to help the bereaved and to help transmit their loved ones to the next plane. Oh yeah, a hilarious actor.
I remember coming home after working in retail at Christmas one day and ranting and raving about it. My wife goes, "Maybe you should get a different job." All right.
Yeah.
Yes. And is there number 3?
Yes, but it'll come. I'm already this movie's already beginning to fade.
Okay.
PTSD. So we'll get to it as we begin to talk about other aspects of the film. There is a third completely hilarious moment.
Well, I wanted to mention, so we kind of hit it at the beginning that the cast, their names are listed, but they don't say what characters they play. And
no one cares.
There's no pictures of any of them. And the pictures of the movie, like sometimes it identifies the people that are in the picture. Yeah, no, there's no identifying of them anywhere, and they're not in any other movies. There's just no way to. I couldn't figure out who they were. It took me a while to figure out what the characters' names were because they almost never, like the girl Julie, who was the one having sex with Richie. They only said her name after she was dead. Up until then, they never said her name. What happened to Julie?
Yeah, who's Julie?
Don't worry about her. And then when it's rolling the credits at the beginning, I had to double take because it goes, let me look up the actual credits here. It says, written by Lawrence, I just can't figure out how to say that name, Zazelenchuk and Alan Nicholson. I'm sorry. And then the next line says, it doesn't say directed by, it also says written by Donald R. Passmore and Klaus Vetter. They didn't change the attribution. According to this movie, there's 4 different people that wrote it and nobody directed.
Well, so apparently one of the 2 listed directors only was working on it for a few days, and then he got fired.
Right.
For some reason, they left his name on it. I can't imagine how bad his stuff could have been that they felt they had to replace it, and this is what they got. But
this is killer. So, well, let's look at posters. Okay,
they fired him for drinking on the set,
and this is what kills me. One of these posters is actually pretty darn good.
Isn't that always the case, though? Isn't always the worst horror films often have very, very great good posters?
There it is. That's a darn tootin' good poster. It's well painted. It's got that grindhouse look to it and everything. I like everything about this poster. I would proudly put this poster on my wall, except that it's for the Corpse Eaters.
Yeah, Corpse Eaters itself is Corpse Eaters in like a great font.
Yeah,
it's a great poster.
I like it. Color by Technicolor. Is that possibly true? Oh well.
I think they meant to say technically it's color.
Technically, yeah. Color by Technicolor, but they've been drinking all day, so.
Well, and it's not too terribly away from reality. I mean, the ghouls kill the one woman, and there's another woman ghoul, and they're by a mausoleum.
Look at all the scantily clad women in the background.
None of those
there's a few too many women there.
Neither of those women are wearing those fabulous shoes. I just want to point that out.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That's some artistic license.
Well, then there's this poster, which is actually, I think, a VHS cover, maybe.
What the hell?
Maybe that's more appropriate. It's pretty ugly and
it looks like the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Hey, Bert, want to see me disembowel someone?
That one guy is doing the.
It's time not to light the lights. It's time to expose some film.
For those who can't see this, it's 2-color with red and grayscale. So there's blood dripping off all the black and white drawings.
I mean, if you were like walking down the street and this flyer suddenly blew against your leg and you like tore it off your leg and looked at it, you might be like, oh.
Rotting ghouls return to life in an orgy of cannibalism.
When I first heard that we were doing this movie, I thought it was Ted Mickles' The Corpse Grinder.
Oh, no.
And, that's not a good movie, but way better than this.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think this might have been
I don't know,
grade school project or something.
Yeah, I totally. And I had to blow this up because it was like a thumbnail size. And
okay, this is actually. I was making a joke about the other one being a flyer, but this is an actual flyer because Bobby is going to have a party and he's going to show this insane horror movie that's really terrible. But we're going to make a flyer for it so that everybody knows how crazy this movie at Bobby's house is going to be. That's what
put Ultraman on it.
Yeah.
Bloody axe embedded in the tree with blood dripping off it.
Of course.
There's a head up in the corner that I think is somebody supposed to be holding that head. Is that?
I guess this just reminds me of like some of the stuff Ray Dennis Steckler would do. Just that home movie vibe.
This movie makes Ray Dennis Steckler look like Antonioni.
Yeah. Because Ray Dennis loved movies.
Yeah.
This just is awful. Now, okay, so the history of this, was this not the single effort by a guy who owned a bunch of drive-ins or something?
Well, it says he owned the 69 drive-in on Route 69 outside of Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. He had saved $36,000 from working at a nickel mine and decided to write and produce a horror film to screen at his own drive-in. The one guy that Passmore was hired, then fired after 4 days and replaced by Klaus Vetter. When it was finished, he couldn't afford the lab cost to have it developed. He finally saved enough in drive-in proceeds to get it processed. Can
I just say how sad it is that an owner of a drive-in theater in the 1970s had to work a side hustle as a nickel miner just to
but you know what's even sadder? A guy who owns a drive-in theater and has presumably seen a lot of movies, when he gets to make his own movie, it's like he was totally unaware of the concept of movies or things like the 180 rule or any of the other basic filmmaking techniques that have tried and true.
Yeah.
And because it had such a small budget, he could not afford his ideal star, John Carradine.
Right.
Apparently, I would guess he wanted John Carradine to play the funeral home director.
Sure, I could see that.
Now, the really fun part is it premiered at the 69 Drive-In in 1974 and went on to a long local run before it was bought by a New York distributor. Now, he sold it to somebody. It had a successful run, in Sudbury.
That does not reflect well on Sudbury.
Yeah, we don't know what successful is, but
well, I'll tell you what successful means. The guy who owned the theater stuck his god awful movie at the end of every triple feature, and probably took some of the money that came in as if people came to see the Corpse Eaters
He
for the
probably did.
900th
It's only 55
time.
minutes.
That's exactly
you
right.
stick that in at like 3 a.m.
Well, there was
That's fine.
we did some movies before that were, and I forget what movie it was, but we did a movie on Classic here, I think, that was a guy that owned a chain of drive-ins in the South, and he produced the movie for somebody.
Was that
Churchill Gordon
Earl
Lewis.
Owensby?
That sounds right.
He did like some 3D movies and stuff.
I don't.
He did a Wolfman movie. And
I can't remember. That doesn't sound right. But anyway, and then it gets even better because he was offered $5,000 for distribution rights from a distributor. However, the distributor didn't bother to tell him that he just wanted the film for a tax write-off. He had no intent on releasing it. So apparently this was only ever released in Sudbury.
Wow.
This didn't even make it to other drive-ins.
It didn't go to the U.S. We know that.
Wow.
Wow. And then it was Encore Video somehow or another found it in 1993 and released a DVD a few years after that.
And now, thanks to the magic of the internet, we got to experience it
yes.
as well. Thanks, internet.
So you can find the original negatives, 35 millimeter prints, and other source materials are held at Library and Archives Canada. As of 2020, the film is still under copyright, with the rights being held by Don Zazelenchuk. Must be Lawrence's son or something. It should expire no later than 2024. Hence, maybe that's why it's up on
Tubi.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, this whole thing is it says the 35 millimeter print is also available at the Kinsey Institute of Indiana University.
I don't plan to go to Indiana, and I don't ever plan to watch this movie again.
Yeah, would that be the Kinsey Institute of the actual
that's a good question. I don't know.
Researchers and scholars, Kinsey, because this does have one of the most repellent sex scenes.
There it is. There it is. Okay.
Listen, that top picture, that dude in the left bottom corner there. Or is
that guy in the
that's
top,
a girl, yeah.
In the
that's
top
a girl.
Picture, the guy in the top picture, his girlfriend.
I don't know if we can even say that.
She doesn't want to have anything to do with him.
Oh no.
So he tries. His buddy Richie and Julie, they're getting it on over on the other side there. He goes over and tries to join him.
Yeah, and she waves him off. She's like, no.
Wow.
No. She waves him off like he's a pasty Canadian with weak chin and no sex appeal. This was such a sad scene. Like, really sad.
Well, did you check out that boat too? That guy was the worst boat driver. You don't.
Jeff's really stuck on this boat.
Yeah.
I was.
He didn't even know about the engine.
He's driving across the lake. And he's driving right at a guy. And
that guy doesn't know anything about boat safety. No.
Yeah.
They can't drive either because they pulled out in front of another car on the way when they're leaving the place.
Yeah.
Don't go there. There's zombies.
So the unhappy woman here. Did we ever find out her name? I can't remember her name.
Lisa.
So
let's go to the concert. No.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we could have gone to a rock concert. No. Let's go to a cemetery. My heart goes out to Lisa. Lisa, they portrayed Lisa as being a prude and a stick in the mud and no fun. But Lisa is absolutely 100% correct that they should not be doing any of this dumb shit.
Right?
Lisa
has standards.
My heart goes out to Lisa. Lisa would much rather be anywhere else in the world than here. And I want to ask a question, because this comes up later when she has the horrible nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in what's the guy's name with Julie? What's his name again?
Richie. The guy that does the ritual.
I should know that that's my dog's name. Don't they say something where Lisa is Richie's sister?
Yes.
Yeah.
That established.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Because during the nightmare scene, Richie's corpse plants a bloody kiss right on her.
Yeah. I was definitely looking at the.
And when that happened, I thought, oh,
hey,
is
this film pushes boundaries. Okay.
But I mean, that would be the cool bit to have in a nightmare sequence, right? Your dead brother suddenly kissing you on the lips. You could think like, oh, is this about to become really? No, it's not.
Can't you guys see that this movie is trying to think out of the box and do things that normal, regular, good movies would never do?
I think the other guy.
It succeeds, Chad. It succeeds.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I think Alan is that guy in the top picture, and then that's Lisa next to him.
Poor Lisa.
Excuse me.
Poor Alan. Never take your shirt off again, Alan.
And that poor owl.
Oh yeah, traumatized for life.
Yeah. You never want to see a bird of prey swoop down and like disrupt something as you did during that scene. Oof. Yeah, unreal.
It seemed
they look at it. I'm thinking. I kept thinking this is just a stuffed owl, right? Because it never moved. Then finally, at one point, it goes like sort of like a what the hell, like an eye roll.
So I'm guessing they were filming this and they saw an actual owl in the tree and like, oh my god, movie magic. Yes. Let's film it and maybe it'll do something. We'll cut that in, but the damn thing didn't do anything.
It sounds a lot better than, hey, we got any owl stock footage? Because I got a great idea.
Yeah. No, because that would have been in focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If it had been stock footage, it would have been clear.
Nothing is in focus, everybody. Nothing. No.
Thank goodness, especially during the orgy scene.
Oof.
Everything really was nice and blurry.
I mean, they had enough people for an orgy, but they didn't have enough participants.
Well, they had a lot of... So, yeah, I forgot to say, Bill labeled this picture, People You Will Never See Again. I'm sorry. Hey, they made a movie.
Yeah.
It's true.
And listen, usually I'm the first one to say, yeah, listen, Planet of the Dinosaur may not be the greatest movie ever made, but they tried, and I'm willing to give a lot of forgiveness to people who are trying to make a movie because it's not easy. But no, this movie looks like it was easy. Like it didn't take long, and they didn't try hard. Things like lighting and focus and sound, nothing about this is good, and there's not even a good story or an idea.
Casting.
Or like, okay, we had a great idea and we didn't have the chops to pull it off. I respect that.
I couldn't afford John Carradine, so my high school friends.
John Carradine. So to not be able to afford John Carradine at that time means you couldn't afford a hotel room and a couple of bottles of gin and just a meager amount of money. Because this guy made Frankenstein Island, all right? He was not picky at this point.
The power.
I would actually love to see a documentary about this, a la Troll 2. Just so you could find these people and say, what the hell was any of you thinking? How did this even come? What was anybody thinking while you were making this?
I want to see the scene where they look at the dailies and fire the first director because it wasn't up to snuff.
Well, it could have been that he wanted it something better.
Yeah.
You notice rather than have good effects or clear shooting, they do a whole lot of jerky camera movement. It's action sequence. Nothing to.
And that scene on the bomb is a 100% ripoff from Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and we even get the slow motion, which normally is kind of cool, but here it's just, oh no, this is going to make the movie last longer.
So the guy on the top, who's got his eyes pulled out, isn't that the funeral director? Who was that?
I think that's him because
that's at the end. He makes no sense. You think that the zombies are eating him and killing him, and then no, he's just nuts, and we're going to put him in the world's worst straitjacket. It doesn't really look like a straitjacket so much as it looks like maybe a straight muumuu, a straight evening gown, maybe a straight sack dress. It does not look like an actual straitjacket.
And just hold your arms at your side while we pull this over you, and we'll tighten it up.
Yeah, the buttons from the back.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. I remember the third hilarious thing.
Okay.
So they go inside of this crypt because it's raining. All right. Well, what are we going to do? Hey, I know. My uncle used to like call up the spirits. So here, let me do this satanic ritual, calling upon Lucifer that my uncle used to do. Oh, it's not working. I know. Maybe if I turn the crucifix upside down, then everything will work. It's like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
I laughed. The moment he got up and did that to make everything work, I laughed. I laughed a lot. That was the third. That was the third time I laughed a lot.
And that whole sequence that just kept cutting to one of them around the circle, just going,
yeah,
to each one, back and forth.
Like who? You're sitting there thinking, like, who would do this? Who are these people? This can't be a Canadian thing. Where did
It's
these
so
people
badly
come from?
edited. It just
And how about that? How about that music during that first zombie attack?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've heard my dog make the same noises
Yeah.
when I step on his tail in the middle of the night.
And again, children shouldn't play with dead things. Had that, Dave with his synthesizer, but at least it was memorable. Just everything about this is bad. They don't succeed in any aspect of entertainment.
No.
Which I guess is almost admirable. I don't know.
It's jaw-dropping.
Jaw-droppingly bad.
Did you notice how when the funeral director goes into his office to fill out all the paperwork and red tape to lay these dead meat away, whatever, he pours a drink into a glass. He drinks a little bit. Then he pours more into the glass. He really hasn't finished it. He's just drinking a little bit. He fills the glass up. Then he chugs it down. Then he grabs the bottle again and goes, let's just start drinking out of the bottle.
No, not just, he doesn't just grab, okay, this is also very funny.
It's
He
a
doesn't just
decanter.
grab the bottle. It's a decanter. It's a
Yes.
crystal decanter full of booze that he's just like, fuck it. And just glug. And so then when he falls asleep and then he wakes up drunk off his ass. So, and then he, he's like, whoa, where is everybody? Where is everybody? Because all the corpses are, and you're just like, what?
He goes down the spiral staircase. Anyway.
Yeah. Nothing like
So, should we do favorite scene?
The end.
I got,
there's just
My favorite part was the guy in the middle right there.
yeah.
I do apologize for the lousy nature of the graphics I could find, but in my defense, there aren't very many out there, and they're all from this movie.
Yeah.
So
that's what the movie looks like.
Yeah.
You
no,
can't.
it really, it's just,
I probably played with them a little bit on levels to make it semi visible. Although I'm not kidding to you, I did not know what that owl was. They kept cutting to it, and I'm like, what is this supposed to be? Is there a face here? I'm not good with faces, but I'm not. And then finally I realized it was a blurry, out of focus owl.
I thought it was somebody wearing a mask.
That would have been cool.
Because why not?
I mean, I knew it was an owl because I'm a connoisseur of owls, but that's just specific to me.
How do they taste?
Did any? How dare you, sir?
Like chicken.
How dare you? Did anyone else notice the constant close-ups of needles going into arms?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. That was interesting.
That's
although
a personal.
Sort of like what is
one of them?
It's not even padding so much as I don't know what to shoot. I'm doing a scene. This is what's happening in the scene, but I have no idea what I should be showing the audience. I know I'm going to show them the needle going into the arm for no dramatic or storytelling purpose whatsoever.
We're going to show them taking blood, every part of it.
Yeah,
stick the needle.
It would have been hilarious if they. It would have been hilarious. And honestly, again, if you any avant-garde video artists out there who is watching this episode, which of course is probably no one, you want to do something hilarious. Just put the warning, the man in the green filter in front of every single there's a needle going into an arm shot, because I'll tell you, there are people who will get very
needles
when they see the needle. This honestly should be a warning. You're about to see a needle go into an arm.
When he first stuck that needle in, that reminded me of like when you're in, like junior high, and you find out you could stick a needle along like under your outer layer skin, but above your inner layer. You know, with you could stick a needle through your skin without getting any blood. You never did that? That's what it looked like to me. It didn't look like they were actually sticking it in anything.
I made a lot of discoveries in high school.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, wow. Well, we didn't have cable TV back then, so we had to make our own amusement.
Yes. You had to come up with your own.
I don't remember Grandpa going, we used to stick pins all through our fingers.
That was the fashion of the time.
You stuck it. I'm telling you, if you saw that, you could see the skin go right over the top of the needle.
I think that's isn't that a part of the technique of carny artists?
Yeah.
Do the needle guy and all that.
Inspired by Albert Fish.
Yeah.
Oh no, Albert Fish ate him. He ate him.
Oh, but he stuck.
He stuck him up his rectum, I think.
Yes, he stuck so many needles in his body that when they electrocuted him, apparently it shorted out or something. It's like
okay. When the word
and I wanted people to know
rails.
This is an entirely appropriate discussion to have in relation to this movie.
That's right.
Oh, I want to go back to the one last thing: the Charger. When that thing was cruising on the gravel road, boy, did that take me back. Because I used to drive like that on gravel roads. So we got
again. You can't gainsay a '70s Dodge Charger. I agree with you, Jeff.
So you're saying this movie is like a Rorschach test that you're watching it. It brings to mind other things. Except Rorschach tests are usually, better filmed and in focus, and you could actually tell it was an owl. Oh, God, this movie is awful.
Another effect,
just awful.
Another effect when Bill was slicing the body, and he had his other hand positioned very weirdly. And then at some point, I don't know, it was weird, but blood was pouring out, and it looked like maybe one of the worst examples of, what was the trick they used in Martin, where they had a tube, stuck to the outside of the knife. Only this one, it looked like he was holding the tube with his other hand and trying to hide it while he put it across.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Tom Savini couldn't have made this mess any better. It's
I'm so sorry for the actors who then had to pretend to be eating human organs, and no doubt they were using real animal organs. And as horror fans know, on many of a set, animal organs begin to ripen very quickly and stink after a while, and it's very sort of unpleasant. But you can always take comfort in the fact that it's a horror classic. No one involved in this who had to pretend to eat a human organ can look back upon it on that trauma.
The best story along those lines was one of H.G. Lewis's movies where a girl had to have a tongue ripped out of her head. So they used a sheep tongue, but it went bad. But they came up with the solution of dousing it in Pine Sol. That's going to make it better.
I'd forgotten about that. Wow.
I'm thinking. I don't know. I'm done.
I'm done.
55 minutes. Oh, Lord.
Which is the best thing about this film?
Is this the worst movie we've ever done? I say yes. I mean, we always joked about Fury of the Wolfman. And Fury
we've watched some doozies, but this is this one's
even God Monster is more entertaining.
Oh no, God Monster is a masterpiece compared to this.
Yeah.
Well, especially on Blu-ray. God Monster is much better on Blu-ray.
You would have to hook me up like Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange to make me watch this again. You'd have to have some Dario Argento needles under my eyelids to keep them open. Even then, I might just take a chance. If I blink enough, it'll bleed. I won't have to see it. Oh, this is awful. Just so terrible. I know we're driving people to go watch this. You're gonna bail after 7
days. Yeah, watch Tubi like, wow, what's going on with corpse eaters?
That's
we're getting hits like crazy.
Anyone foolish enough to think, oh, this has got to be hilarious. You'll never get through those first 17 minutes.
Yeah,
or nothing happens. You just won't make it. You won't make it to end. You just won't make it
unless you're a fan of terrible, horrible filmmaking. Unless you're a fan of that, which hopefully there aren't many of you out there.
And when it's done, you won't have any idea what happened because that is the final scene.
I thought they were trying to say, "Oh, this all happened in his head."
Yeah.
Because he was such an a-hole and disrespectful to the corpses that were coming in.
It's an homage to Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. That's
so
something like that.
Yes, even he was imagining Lisa's dream.
I
Nightmare.
mean that would,
Yeah.
that would explain the fact that he's attacked by these zombies and then appears to be fine.
Yes. Yes.
That the whole thing is just a drunken dream. But that classic cinematic trope was not communicated
No.
by the filmmaking itself.
No, and I kept wondering about
Who had to
flashbacks.
interpret that?
I kept thinking, is the guy that's laying in the coffin at the beginning where Bill's working on him, was he Richie?
He was supposed to be Richie. It was the whole thing was supposed to be a flashback.
Yeah.
Here's how Richie wound up. But plus, I just looked like, he apparently was mauled by a bear. He got this little like scratch.
He's got like a little scratch on him. It's like,
and even that was getting ready to fall off.
I've seen The Revenant. That is not what a man looks like after he's been mauled by a bear.
This takes place in Canada, where a bear could really mess you up.
Yeah.
You know?
I've seen bear work, and it doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
I've seen bears do things even a bear wouldn't do.
Yeah. Wow.
But we're famous for our face work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Final thoughts. Don't watch this movie.
Yes. Yeah. Here's a final thought.
Unless you are a avant-garde video artist and are looking for bizarre images.
And be careful when you let Chad pick movies for you to watch.
I don't want to hear anything. After some of the ones you guys have picked, no, I'm not going to take any criticism. Yeah,
okay.
It sucks, but
I just want to.
I got to protect myself here.
I just want to point out that I picked exactly one movie for the podcast, and it was a classic. Just saying.
Well, any nincompoop could come on and pick something. Pick something classic.
It takes an artist.
Just wait.
It takes a real man to just pick one that is going to be terrible.
I predict his next one will be artsy fartsy Euro trash.
Yeah,
that's just what I.
I mean, it is true. Anyone could come in and pick a classic we've already done, but Chad bit the bullet and tried to go for a movie that no one had seen and we hadn't heard of. In retrospect, he just should have picked Phantasm again. We should have just done 2 in a row of Phantasm.
Yeah.
But you live and learn.
You live and learn.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple of feedbacks here.
Cool.
I bet we're not going to get any for this one.
Very brief. Oh, we might. I used to say, before I was on any of the podcasts, I used to always thank those guys for weeding out the crap, when they would do the reviews on H&R. So hopefully this will be of use to somebody. Well, let's go with
save a life.
See, Chad. Episode 182, The Ghoul, from Philip Jones, 6083.
Philip says, brilliant movie, needs a remastered version, maybe a 4K upscale.
The Ghoul with
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Right?
Yes. Another movie where nothing happens for a long time, but it's okay because it's interesting.
That's right. It's Peter Cushing. That's episode 198, Shivers, from J-Ro 3931. Bill?
J-Ro 3931 says of Shivers, saw this movie about 40 years ago. I always thought the lady in the laundry room got pulled through the drain.
I'm sure Cronenberg thought about it.
Yeah.
Can I just say that one of my all-time favorite moments in Shivers is when the woman opens up her mouth and the parasites start to jump out, and the guy just punches her.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that as a teenager and just being like, "Holy shit! The hero just punched a woman to keep the parasite from getting." Anyway.
Misogyny rules.
Oh, God, I was very shocked by that scene as a teen.
And our last feedback for our last episode, 239, Phantasm, chosen by Gregory, and Gregory shall read it, from Mikey Z.
Mikey Z says, it figures Gregory would pick Phantasm. Balls of steel, indeed.
See, I told you.
Yes, Michael. You are correct. Balls of steel. Indeed.
Thank you, Mikey Z.
He's living on the edge, folks. He's out there. He's thinking out of the box. Phantasm. Right. Oh my God.
I was referring more to the balls of steel comment, but whatever.
I'm just
all right. Well, that's it for feedback, and we love comments. So please, hey, people are like ignoring the last 2 or 3 episodes here. One on Phantasm, really?
It just dropped today.
Well, that's true. That's true. Never mind. I take it all back. But you can leave comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send an email to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, and those will get to us. We love them, so please send them. Yeah, yes. We also have a Patreon. What do we call that? What do you call that? Patreon peeps? Patreons. Anyway. For a few measly dollars, you will get your Decades of Horror episodes within a day or two of when they were recorded. We usually do them a couple weeks early, because that way when people have problems and we have to reschedule and conflicts and stuff like that, we could still get it out on time.
For only a few dollars a month, you too could know all about the Corpse Eaters before anyone else.
Yes.
So warn your friends.
And just think, if you were planning on watching Corpse Eaters the day after you watched this, you would be saved a terrible injustice. So thank you.
Give you
Philip,
an hour back of your life.
Thank you, Philip Jones. Thank you, J-Ro and Mikey Z, as always. Now, every 2 weeks, we do a new episode of another movie from the 70s. And the next one is picked by Bill. Bill.
This movie is about an ancient primordial beast from another time. It's played by Richard Boone, and he's hunting the last dinosaur.
He's
TV
also
movie.
The primordial beast.
Yeah, that's right. It's a TV movie from Rankin Bass and the folks who made lots of Japanese horror movies. It is wacky.
I suspect I have a very vague memory.
Yes.
I suspect that
you were the right age when you saw this.
Yes, I suspect I saw this on TV. I'd forgotten all about it, but the minute you said Richard Boone, I thought, I think I saw this.
And Joan Van Art.
I loved it as a kid.
I loved it as a kid too. I think I'm going to love it again. It also has one of my favorite. Here's the poster. Wow. And here's the reality.
Yeah.
Hey, It doesn't matter. No matter how disappointing this film might be, it will not be as disappointing as the Corpse Eaters.
Oh, no, please.
In fact, I'm going to go on a limb here and say that there will be no movie in the near future.
The Zapruder film is less disappointing than this movie. Come on. Jeez.
Well, because you guys are probably going to pick all winners from here on out, all the classic stuff.
If
next week we're going to do
standard, yes.
The Bride of Frankenstein. We'll see if it's better than Corpse Eaters.
No, Jay, you're right. Next time I have another pick, it's going to be probably John Mulan's Shiver of the Vampires. It'll be Euro trash, so then you can give me a hard time.
Yeah, so the other Subaraya Productions, which would be IG Subaraya's company, I think, but his name is nowhere on this movie. So I don't know if he had passed away already or there is a Subaraya on here, but it's not.
Is this animatronic or stop motion?
Oh, it's not stop. It's man balloon.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Inflatable.
Yeah.
I mean, one guy is credited as Tyrannosaurus front legs. So I mean, they had two guys in a Triceratops actually.
Sure.
So it's terrible. But
the song is great. The song is great, and Richard Boone is always
sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, I guess that's it. I'm going to go home and dream of driving my Charger.
I'm going to go drink a lot of gin
down the gravel roads. All right. Thank you, everybody that actually listened to this. Thanks to Chad and Bill. And a lot of people might just go Corpse Eaters. I never heard of that one. I better listen to this.
Trust me, everyone watching this or listening to this, you just had far more fun this past hour than you'll ever have if you try to watch Corpse Eaters.
So again, thanks Chad, Bill, and Gregory, and thanks to Grue Believers, and say good night.
Good night.
Night, folks.
Night.